every now and then a bit of gear comes along, a bit of equipment comes along which exceeds all expectations, and sometimes maybe even changes the way that you do things. As I've mentioned before in the other two previous videos about amps, it was like kind of on the hit list early on in the studio to have, like, you know, the classic amps, like something representing the classic amps. So I kind of like, you know, for the last 20 years or so, I think since about the turn of the century, I'd say, like, I've been pretty nailed down on, like, backline. You know, I use Fender amps. You know, this comes from, like, a long and storied use of Marshall. I used to have a small Vox 50. I used to use, like, a lot of, like, Marshall, like a lot of, you know, like anything with, like, a master volume and a, you know, a lot of front end gain. The JCM 800 being my favourite, but I've used DSLs, you know, JCM 900s. I've used all sorts. Even a Marshall Major once. Yeah, you know, being in the situation whereby getting in hired backline and, like, always being lumbered with a valve state, which at the time I hated. Now I'm more open-minded. I'd like to actually revisit the valve state and see if I can do anything with it. But for me, it was always a wasp in a baked bean tin. It was just so fizzy, I just couldn't do anything with it. So I started, like using the clean channel on the valve state and getting my drive from, like, an SD1 or, you know, any of my other drive pedals, and eventually I bought what's called a DRP1, a direct recording preamp, a little Marshall thing, and I would put that into the clean channel of the valve state and get some Marshall character, and that led me to get into the whole governor thing. In fact, John Stevens, my sound engineer at the time, you know, pushed me onto the governor, and that's how come to this day, you know, I'm a huge proponent of the early, you know, the Mark 1 governor. And eventually, you know, going down that clean channel route and getting my drives, you know, from the floor, not the amp, you know, that led me to Fender, which has, in my opinion, by far the most dynamic and awesome clean channel, and I'm still there now to this day. You know, itching to get back into the tube way of doing things. I've always, like, got a tube amp. I've never been without one. It's but I've moved more and more into solid state as time's gone on. But funnily, I had no interest in modelling amps until I bought a Fender Champ, which is tube, and it has a modelling channel on it, which was just like a Brucey bonus. I bought it for the clean channel and ended up just using the modelling channel all the time to this day. But so yeah, I wanted representatives from, like, Orange, Vox and Marshall especially, you know, and further down the line I'd look into, like, Laney, Yamaha, PV, Line 6, you know, Crate, I'd like, and Boogie would be nice, Soldano would be marvellous. I'd love a Soldano, but you know, those things aren't likely to happen, but there are things that I can do, and there are obviously things that I have done. Now, this amp here, the Vox VT-20, I'm just going to demonstrate very quickly why I love it. Now, one thing I'll say, with these modelling amps, and the reason that I'm keen to get deeper into it and get more, is, you know, I found with the Fender modelling system, it was especially good at doing other Fenders. Like, it was really good at that. I found with this Vox, you know, it's particularly good at doing other Vox amp. The Brian May setting, for instance, it's like, wow, this is this crazy, super hot AC30. Anyway, without further ado, I'm just going to take you through a few of the profiles just very quickly and show you why this is such a great amp for, you know, like any kind of session guitar player, anyone that messes around with tones, really. So off the bat, This is a Vox AC-15. Just lead into the amp, no effects, no pedals, no any kind of anything. Now I know you probably can't hear it, but if I was to want to record like "She Loves You, Yeah, Yeah, Yeah," you know, this would be the amp, right? So yeah, that's a Vox AC-15. So and I'm very fond of that amp in real life, and I have to say I love that model. It really impresses me. Now this is the best thing about this amp. Okay, well, one of the great things about this amp, and it's something that I've not known on any other modelling amp. We'll see as my experience grows if that is something that other amps do. So right right now, like, I'm in the EQ section. It's doing very much what it would actually do, okay, if it was indeed an AC-15. But now I'm going to go on and we're going to find a JCM 800, okay, and I know where it is. So it's like there's all these like options, okay. So I've just gone from AC-15, all right, and there's 3 of those. Night Train is the 3rd one. AC-30. Now UK rock, okay. Green is channel 1, orange is channel 2, red is channel 3. Okay, follow that. So into the middle, into the yellow, right? So we're on JCM 800. Okay, right. I'm gonna put the gain and put the volume again at 12 o'clock. Now I'm gonna dime the EQ. If I'd have done that on the Vox, it'd be most unpleasant. If I do that on something else, but like that's what I would do with the JCM 800. And let's just see what the results are there. So this is a Marshall JCM 800, right? And you can see I've done that kind of blind as well. I kind of, anyway. Now, I'm going to add in a quick bit of Tube Screamer, because like this is the Gary Holt sound, which I love so much. And you all completely lost that competition the other day when I was like Guess the Tone Tuesday. You could have won a bag of handmade plectrums by me, but none of you got it right. It was a JCM 800 with a Tube Screamer in front of it. A lot of you got close saying plexi and shit, but JCM 800 with a Tube Screamer, which is this. that's your Gary Holt, Kirk Hammett crunch, right? That is the classic sound. Definitely one of my favourite sounds. So let's get rid of the tube screamer. Now I'm going to give you one that's an interesting one. So and let's see if you can guess what this is. Anyway, that is a Dumbbell Super Overdrive Special. A Dumbbell Overdrive Special in the clean channel with a clon. and I adore this sound, and it's not because it's a Dumbbell and a clon. I'm not just like... It's just how expressive it is. I adore it. And who would have ever thought it would be a good like thrash sound, right? Somehow, right, I clean this fucking fretboard and it just makes it dirtier. Look at how distressed this thing is. Like, this is getting on now. This guitar, I didn't have it with me when I was in Norfolk, and I missed it. It was getting the humbucker put in, and I remember, like, you know, in the disaster of like going back to Chichester with tail between my legs and stuff. This is one of the few highlights, was getting my strap back. And a hell of a guitar it is too. Although I have to say, a certain somebody's been giving it a run for its money. A certain like proper 70s Strat is giving it a run for its money, I have to say. But I'm going to get into this on another occasion, because this has been quite a big deal too, this whole two-Strat business. So anyway, yeah, so actually I'm just going to quickly turn the clon off and just show you that clean sound. So that's the Dumbbell Super Overdrive in the clean channel, channel 1. Overdrive Special. And I mean, there's 100 great effects on this amp. I will just really quickly You know, there's 100 great effects. I'm just like, you know, I'm just keeping it raw. So there you are, the Vox VT-20. I can only say what an incredible set of sounds it has. I mean, since Vox got bought by Korg and everyone was like, oh, it's the end of Vox, that's the end of Vox. But it's like all those, like, you know, all those guys from Toneworks, like, you know, that had been at the forefront of like proper good quality digital effects all the way through the 80s and 90s. All of a sudden they're in the fucking design squad with Vox now. I mean, I think Vox is just like knocking out some amazing shit. I've gone on and on about how good the little Stomp Lab pedal is. I think every guitarist should have one of those. I'm not even joking. But one of the things, you know, I am so hugely keen on this amp that I'm definitely going to buy another. I mean, I'm going to buy other Vox modelling amps, 100%. Like I'd get the older version of that and the newer version. Like, I mean, they're actually both on the hit list because they're the same but different. Like the new one, and as rather than having as much like knob sort of interface, like you basically like you use your phone and you use what's called the tone room, and you just basically pick out your amps and pedals like visually with graphics and like basically set them up. It's kind of cool. I'm not massive on that stuff like the Spark and all that where you have to use a phone, but yeah, I mean, I'll give that a go. And then the older one has got like a very heavy metal look. It's got like a metal grill and sort of gridiron and you know, just slightly less evolved setup, but you know, you see them going like one's like going for like 50-60 quid. I will definitely get one. So I'd like to sort of like actually have like all of the iterations of the VT-20. I think the Valvetronics is some crazy voodoo. They're actually using an AX7 valve, which I just assumed was a preamp valve, but it's in the power section and it's used in a push-pull capacity. I just, you know, the thing is, it's like I have to turn it on and let it warm up like a valve amp. It doesn't just sound like a valve amp, it behaves like a valve amp. I'm really quite taken by it. I've been going on about it for ages, but it's like, you know, anyone that comes into this room, like to a man, when that amp's been on and I've been playing it, it's going, oh, that sounds good. And that says something, you know, it's notably good sort of amp. Like, but again, in this environment, you know, in a home studio, a home recording environment, it's an amazing amp. I'm not sure it cut it live. I think maybe I could get away with that AC15 setting. I think that would cut through the mix, but I don't think it would. I think it would get lost on stage. Maybe the bigger one, I don't know. I don't think so. That's not real. I don't think that's his forte. So far I've not had any luck using modelling amps live, but we will see how that goes. It's something that we'll, you know, I'll do more as it goes on. Anyway, all I can say is I adore it, and it's set the ball rolling. You know, I'm after the Marshall Code, I'm after the PV Viper, a Line 6 of some sort, maybe a Mustang, but certainly like I'm looking at another Fender amp for doing gigs, which is a Tuba 12 combo. And it has a modelling section, so we'll see how that goes. Champ 100 if you're interested. You know, it's not expensive and it will do the job perfectly well. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I've got to say. All I can say is, out of all the things that I've bought, my goodness, like the Vox items, they have been incredibly. I mean, I regard them so very highly. I've always been a big fan of Vox amps, you know, and but I'm kind of like, they're out of my range now to the point there's not really anything that would interest me. Then we come to this, so you know, it's like, okay, it's like reignited my faith in an old amp brand I don't have much call for anymore in life. So it's nice to see the logo. It's nice to be plugged in and see that logo again. I mean, I'll be honest. But yeah, I'd love to get like a proper, you know, all tube Vox at some point. Maybe an AC4. I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna have to get an AC30 one day. It's just like, you know, it's like having an SM57, you know. But yeah. What else can I say? The other Vox thing, probably the next Vox thing I'm looking to get is a pedal called the Cutting Edge. I am looking around at sort of other iterations of the Metal Zone, like that type of thing. You know, some of the more ludicrous sort of high gain pedals. Because I really live there, and I've got like 3 pedals that really work for me. But I just want to keep expanding, and that Vox, you know, that range of Voxes, you know, like the Silk Drive and the Copperhead and all that, yeah, they look very interesting. But the demos that I've seen and heard, I mean, it's a lot of money for a pedal, but at the same time it kind of looks worth it. You know, you should have a few things in your rig dotted around that are sort of like money no object things. You know, otherwise you've got no reference point for the budget stuff to be sure that it's working, which it mostly does. Anyway, that's enough for now. Hope you enjoyed that look at the amp.